Right, it is time for the one and only Ben Stowe. Now, what you need to do is you need to get really close to the speakers. You need to get close to that screen and say, "Hi, Ben." No, I'm not hearing anything. Are you hearing anything?
No, I think maybe their microphones are off.
Maybe they need to speak up a little more. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. If you are joining us live, yay! If you are catching this on replay, yay! Because we know a lot of you do, and you're busy and such when these go live, and we appreciate you coming back and checking out the shows each and every week. Tonight, Ben, we were thinking about talking about gear. We were thinking about talking about production, about sound, about lighting, but instead we decided we're going to kind of go a little bit more on the personal side tonight.
Talk about what really makes it all tick, right?
Really, it is, and it's a big part of what we do is not only how we balance and put things together, but that motivation that keeps us going forward. And I want to kind of step back a little bit because a lot of people may not know the story of Ben Stowe, what got you to the point of where you are today, and kind of your
what tipped me over the edge.
Well, your early days specifically, because a lot of people are like that these guys have been in a DJ world and they've been doing this and such, but the motivation of where we came from, because both of us came from very poor backgrounds and such, and such. So just kind of give us a little bit of a kind of a history. You and I've talked about this before, but let's kind of just go through that again to kind of set the tone for tonight's show, so people know where you're coming from.
Well, when I first started, I was quite literally living in a homeless shelter, and I was a high school student. I had left home, and I think I get a lot of credit for being a pretty smart guy. But in reality, this maybe wasn't one of the smartest things I had ever done, having left home without anywhere else to live. So anyway, I ended up living in a homeless shelter, still going to high school, and really didn't intend for this to be a career. It was sort of a parachute, if you will. I was good at electronics, and I spent a lot of time in the electronics lab. And so I started making things, strobe lights and small lighting controllers, and fixing car stereo amps for friends that had blown theirs up. And, and it just, as requests came in, and money changed hands, hey, can you build this? Hey, can you fix that? It sort of led to this becoming a career, which is, it's sort of one of those things you would have never dreamed about as a career. And, you look back 24 years and you think, wow, what are the odds, right? So anyway, that's sort of the genesis of this, so.
And I think the kind of that, I don't want to call it a humble, but that modest beginning where a person is basically, has nothing, and you built where you are today from scratch.
Yeah, you really take it. There's an old saying, it's not business, it's personal, or it's not personal, it's business, excuse me. I think for a lot of us, it is personal. It's deeply personal. And when you've wondered where you might sleep that night, or when you've wondered what you might eat, I was telling my son, and my kids, I pulled up some pictures, we can go through later, but, they work very hard. I'm trying to instill a strong work ethic in them, but they really don't go without. We don't spoil them, I don't think, but they don't go without. And I was explaining to my son what it's like to make tomato soup from a cup of hot water and a ketchup packet, and I think he thinks it sounds like a neat novelty idea, but I'm thinking, this was dinner.
Yeah.
So, and I was very lucky that we have the facilities we have in my community where I was able to move into a shelter and very quickly get on my feet, as it were. But still, climbing out of that, getting, paying rent in an apartment, at 18 as a senior in high school, that sort of thing, and trying to build a business along, you do tend to sort of want to very, what's the word I want to use? You really want to protect it.
Yeah.
It becomes very, very personal to you. And anyway, I've had a tremendous joy of doing it. I've had just an amazing career. I think, if I look back on the experiences I've had over those 24 years, I think I think I could retire and feel good about what I've done and the experiences I've had. But then I think I've got probably another 30 years ahead of me, and it's sort of mind numbing,
Yeah.
Inspiring, intimidating, but anyway.
30 years, that means that you must be a lot younger than I am.
No, I think I plan on working a while.
Yeah.
And part of that is, what is retirement? I think if the definition of retirement is to stop doing what you must so you can do what you want to, right now I'm doing what I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that all the time. I work incredibly hard, and I don't really mind it, but I think sometimes it affects those around me, which is kind of, maybe somewhere we might go tonight in the show, But the very first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is check my phone, look at my emails and Facebook messages and all that. I drive home from work, and the first thing I do when I walk in the door is check it again, and probably the last thing I do before I go to bed is check it again. It's pretty much every waking moment, I'm kind of working. But I don't really mind. I really like the people that I'm working with, by and large, and I like what I'm doing. And so I don't know. I think another 30 years isn't out of the question.
Sure.
I'm in my 40s, and
Yeah, and the way it's looking is we're going to have to work till 70.
Yeah, I was going to say, plus, I'm self-employed, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna be working until I die. So.
Yeah, exactly. Wait a second, before you die, can you sign this purchase order for the shipping label? You got
for sure.
When you were working away and putting things together and getting through high school and such, there was some motivating factors for you then. What I wonder, I don't want to
starvation
focus.
Is
starvation, yeah, exactly. It's a tremendous motivator. But I want to kind of jump ahead because a lot of us, when the DJ world, I'm sure everyone's got a story where they came from that that struggle and built themselves up, especially if that's the entrepreneur side of us.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to bring the family side into it. How did your motivation change once you were married? And then kind of differentiate that a little bit of maybe how your motivation changed as you guys started having children.
Well, as many people have said, another two customers tonight, in fact, both said, your wife must be a saint for the hours that you work and the times you respond to my messages and those sorts of things. And I think she is. She's a wonderful person. And of course, I married her, but she comes from a pretty humble background too. She was adopted. She's definitely, taken some knocks in life. And anyway, that's made her a very strong person. I think that has enabled her to really be able to put up with the demand that my lifestyle puts on a family. And I feel bad when it creates that load, but it works, for us. But once you start having kids, then there are people who are completely dependent on you, whereas my wife is strong and independent. All of a sudden there are people that are completely dependent on you, and it definitely does change things. And one of the things that I think I'm most proud of is that, I was there for both of my children's, my biological children's birth. I was able to be there for that, and, tried to catch as many of the important things as I could, the first steps, the first words, that sort of thing. And we've done a lot together. I went through and pulled a few pictures of the kids and our lives and incorporating the kids into the business. And I was actually, I think, somewhat pleased that there were so many, that I have thousands of pictures of me and the kids. And I thought that's probably a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find that balance between work and family, because, you're doing it for them, and there's no greater calling. There's no more novel cause than to be, a parent. I think, I remember seeing a coffee mug once that said, anybody can be a father, but only somebody special can be a daddy.
Yep.
And certainly I've tried to be more than just a contributor of biological, material, try to be a dad in this process. So.
How do the kids? You mentioned earlier, of course, that you're checking your phone and we're getting calls and messages and such that come in. It happens at the house. As we're getting ready to go for the walk, the phone rings. And it's somebody who's got a question, what have you. How do the kids respond to that? And I'll be honest. My kids don't respond well to it anymore.
Yeah, no, mine not either at times. You know, maybe they respond like they should. I think kids have a brutal honesty where they can really call
Yes.
you out, and I think it's good. I think it's good for them to call that accountability and say, yes, we know these customers depend on you, but you're the only dad we have. You know, I mean, we need you too. You know, you have to you have to be here for us too. And so that's where striking balance. And, you know, it's kind of funny. And I actually mentioned, I gave him a heads up that I just felt like I might mention him in the show, but, you know, Ed Mead, a customer of ours, and I were talking the other night, and I was at home and my wife was out of town and I was making dinner, and I mentioned something to that effect to him, and I said, you know, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. I said, I'm making dinner, you know, and he's very gracious about it. He was very nice. He said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, you know, do your thing. They take care of, you know, make dinner. And, you know, I'm sorry for interrupting dinner. And I thought that was just great that he was so gracious about it. And I said, Ed, don't apologize. You paid for it. You know, I mean, if it wasn't for you guys, if it wasn't for the customers, you know, that's what pays for dinner. And don't worry, we're not eating caviar. Okay, customers, you know, so, but, you know, I think you have to sort of remind your kids that too, and say, yes, I know I need to be here for you, but remember, this is what pays for everything that we have, our roof over our heads and our meals. And our ability to, you know, go do things together is all because of these customers too. So it's helping your kids to understand the other side of that coin, and understand the importance of the customer in, you know, the overall equation, you know, but my son, he's the best at it. He really, you know, I think my oldest daughter, she's quiet and shy, and she's just a wonderful human being. My son is a bit more like me. He's a bit more, you know, tell it like it is. And I was packing my suitcase to go somewhere, and he said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Well, I got to go on the road again, you know." And he said, "Why?"
Ooh, I've heard that.
And I said, "It's my job." And he said, "Can't you get a different job?" You know, I mean, why do you got to have this job? Why can't you get a different job? And I thought, you know, that's a pretty honest moment, you know.
It is. How did you respond to it? I've had the exact same so far. I had that same conversation.
I think honesty is the best policy. And, you know, I mean, I could work in another field, there's no doubt. But I actually honored his question with an honest response. And I said, I could, son. I could. I said, but I like this. I like what I do. I said, and I'm sorry that it conflicts with you at times. I said, but there's nothing more important to me than my family. But this is something I've found that I enjoy, that I can provide for the family, you know. And I think we had a little, just an honest dialogue about it. And, you know, and I reminded him of some of the opportunities that the industry has afforded him, which again, I found some great pictures looking through of ways that I've been able to interweave the kids into my experience. So, you know, he has to understand that, like I said, not only do the customers provide our roof and our meals, but also that many of our customers, many of our customers are friends, and they've been an important part of our lives. Great example, you know, several years ago, we took the two older kids to Disney, and some good friends of ours from Texas joined us. I didn't tell them I was going to mention their names, so I guess I won't, but they know who they are. You know, they're customers, but they're friends, and they joined us at Disney. And then another customer of mine, he texted me and he said, "I'm looking for a price on this." And I said, "You know what? I'm in the middle of Disney." I said, "Can I get that price for you tonight, or could you call the office?" And he lives in Atlanta, and he says, "Oh, I got a season pass." He goes, "I'll see you tomorrow morning." So, you know, and you know, he goes, "Forget about the price. This is not a big a deal. You know, I don't need it till next week." You know, he said, "I'll call you next week, but yeah, I'll see you at Disney." And he came and he joined us. And, you know, it's really, so many of our customers are more like family, really, I think, anyway. So you just kind of have to help a young person understand that too. You know?
Yeah, you know, very, very much so. And that's a difficult thing. And as you say, most of the people that we work with and we deal with, and, you know, the folks in the chat room understand that we are our family people, and are cognizant of that, and they will respect that. But yet, and I'm sure you've got a few people who just have absolutely no boundaries, and they will. they will abuse. And I'm gonna go on my rant on this, and I know you've got a variation of this, and you can choose to talk about it or not. Is that there are people out there who will come and eat my time up, call and ask questions, and eat up time and take time, and then when it comes to buying a subscription to the paper, buying a show pass for a show I'm doing anything new to basically invest in anything to help support what we do. I mean, not even buying from our sponsors. And it's like, dude, I can give and I can do this and I can try to help you, but it's a give and a take. And if you're going to not respect me enough and what I can offer you, and the number of times I've gotten called by this one particular person at about 6:15 at night, which is dinner time in our house, the kids actually, they know that, oh, I bet you that's that guy. And it was, because it had happened that often. So it can be a very frustrating.
You might be nicer than me, John, because I do set boundaries. I've become less afraid to be honest with people. And I think most people respect the honesty. Maybe not. Maybe they're just too nice to tell me. But I'll basically sort of call them out and say, listen, time is a finite resource, and I don't think there's anybody that would question that I give of this industry. I've given 24 years of my life. It has quite literally taken my youth, and I've done so willingly. But there has to be a boundary. They say enough is enough. If you're my customer, I'll give you the world, but you have to be my customer. At some point, you got to reciprocate that. Anyway, those people don't really bother me near as much as there are other kinds of people. And again, the vast, overwhelming majority of my customers are people I really, really like. Many I consider close friends. I've stayed in their homes, and we've had, I'll come back to that, but I'll say this first about the others. There are those that are just, I don't know if they're wired wrong or they're just mean spirited or what, but I remember one time that a customer was just on the offensive, and it's amazing the things that people really come unglued about. A UPS train derailed one time. We have no control over a train derailing, and I understand it put the customer in a bind. I've worked in show business for 24 years, and believe me, we feel terrible. But that word wasn't enough, for that person. They really just came unglued and were just, hurling angry, hurtful, nasty things, and they got me so upset. I actually yelled at my kids. I was in such a bad mood. I actually took it out on my kids, and I thought, you know what, that's enough. Never again. At some point you have to say, you know what, it's not you, it's them.
Yeah.
This person's got something wrong with them, or some issue. Maybe they're just having a bad day. I don't know, but I'm going to try really, really hard not to let it change the way that I approach the rest of my day. There are 86,400 seconds in a day. If I got the number right, I think I did. Don't check.
It sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think it's 86,400 seconds in a day, and it only takes 10 seconds to ruin your whole day. And that's a grossly imbalanced ratio. And I try to put it in that perspective and say, you know what? That is one person who, again, with a situation beyond our control, or even within our control, maybe we drop the ball. Sometimes we do. We're human. We do care. We do feel bad. We don't want these situations. But there's a grown-up way to handle it, and this person isn't. And you just kind of have to put it in that perspective and say, I can't let this affect the rest of my day.
Yeah.
I can't let this, because when you do care as much as I do, it really does eat at you. It really does pull you down. You think, man, I really wish I could have done anything to avoid that situation for this person. And then it begins to start to. So what I guess I was thinking about this the other day. In fact, it's funny we're doing this show. I was thinking about the things that I do remember about my 24 years thus far. And it's not those things. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I think viewers might be stunned to know what I think about and what I remember of my 24 years thus far, considering the wonderful experiences I've had. Numerous professional sports teams, 5 college football national championships, numerous tours, all the wonderful experiences I've been able to have. But those aren't the things I think about. Those aren't the things I remember. I remember crazy little things. I'm gonna call out some people by name. I guess I'm sorry. I didn't tell them that I was going to do this, but I think they should be honored. Alan Trisler brought me a Coke at Mobile Beat. I was in the middle of a Pro Academy session, and I didn't know him. Hadn't met him at the time. Now, the Adventures with Alan is a show in and of itself. It's turned into a wonderful friendship. I couldn't ask for a better friend. But that was all started by this guy, just bringing me a Coke.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Thorpe brought me a Coke at Arms DJs. He's probably amazed that I remember that 5 years later, but I do. And that's the point. Chris Johnson really raised the bar this year at Mobile Beat. He brought us like a 12 pack of Dr. Pepper and a bunch of Gatorades. And, he's an overachiever. He's an overachiever in every way.
You're setting yourself up. It's good at the next show.
Well, no, listen. Okay. Let me be clear. I'm not, no. Okay. In fact, that's not at all what I'm thinking. I appreciate it very much. The gestures, but it's not. I think it's not because like you ask for them. It's because these are sincere gestures from people. Ken Heath bringing me the Darth Vader mask. He found it somewhere and thought, I got to buy this, and I'm going to bring it with me all the way to Vegas just to give it to Ben. Kurt Stoltz gave me that ridiculously huge Darth Vader back there. We had to ship it home from, and you think about all these little things. Big, whatever. I think about a trip to a parts store with Keith Johnson in Indiana to go get some parts at a trade show, or Randy Allen. Gosh, just so many great memories. Chris Ferris, he's a hoot, man. If you don't know Chris Ferris, you need to go down to El Paso and just hang with him for a day or two, maybe just a day. He's a day with Chris is a highly. There's a lot that goes into a day. He's a very high energy guy. Anyway, he brought us these tons of baklava. We ate baklava for a week at a trade show that his cousin made. And, you think about, okay, so there's all these examples of these things. Seth and Carissa Miller, just hanging out in the giant Ferris wheel thing in Vegas. And, those are the things I think about. Not what people have spent, not what people have bought, the human parts of all that. So, and by the way, I know in that 15 seconds that I said like 10 names, and I know that I missed 1,000 of them. And so, listen, if you're one of the many, many friends that I have that we've had these great interactions, and I didn't say your name, please don't hang on that side of it. Hang on the positive side to know that I'm probably thinking about it. Okay. So not that I didn't mention your name on Disc Jockey News.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of people that we run into at shows and different things, and it's like, you never remember.
Some of the best friendships, my friend Charles Clark in Hayward, Iowa, Randy Baumeister, again, we're all kindred spirits, these birds of a feather, and so I focus on that. And I've decided, I'm not going to let those people be robbed of my best because of something that happened in the 10 seconds out of my 86,400 seconds. I'm going to try to best I can set that aside and focus on giving my best to everybody else, including my family.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Sorry, you off on a tangent we go.
No, that's quite all right. That's quite all right. That's what we were just kind of watching the chat room, because right now they're basically thinking that Ben can be bought with sugary drinks.
Well, you're on, everybody's got a weakness, my morning coffee with Alton at Mobile Beat, which has now become a tradition. I wish I had more hours in a day because I've made such wonderful, wonderful friends in this industry. Yeah. And no, I'm not looking for bribes. I'm not looking for more Star Wars stuff. In fact, my wife would really appreciate it if you didn't give me any more. But there's always room for more.
You didn't hear that here.
It's not about the things.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not about the stuff, the drinks, it's about the fact that, these people think of you, that Matt Grumman said the other day in DJ Idea Sharing, I think it was, and he said, how many of you guys have ever tipped Ben Stowe? You're talking about, gratuities and I kind of had to say, well, to be fair, people have been really good to me too. I think part of that, John, this is where it gets into say, well, okay, this isn't about Ben. This is about your business, right? You, John, or the viewer and their business. I think if you're sincere about your clients, if you're sincere about what you're doing and all that, the rest really just all falls into place. I'm not a very good businessman in the sense that I rarely look at financials. I rarely look at reports. I just focus on sound and lighting. And we've got some very good people in the office that take care of those things. But the fact is, that's not what drives me. It's not sales and it's not money, it's the industry that we're in. And I think if you take that same passion into your dances, your sets, John, your shows, your paper, and I know you do, John, we've been friends a long time. I think the rest follows,
Yeah, I think really we boil it down to it's the relationships that people like you and I, we like to build those relationships with people and get to know them. And I mean, any number of the folks in the chat room that we see on a regular basis, you have that relationship. You know about their family, and you know about what their business is, a little bit about that, compared Absolutely. To just being a number out there.
Oh yeah, I think our software, we use SAP, which is pretty heavyweight software for a business. The same stuff that General Motors and Budweiser and Nestle, big companies use, and we're not a big company like that, but we use pretty major software. And I'm sure it has customer numbers in there. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I love seeing customers at a trade show and recognizing them by face, knowing them by name, like you said, knowing their kids. I love that. I really do. And I like that they feel the same way about me.
Mm-hmm. Now, the good part about it is you build in essence that extended family, and that's really cool. And I appreciate, and you love the friends that we've made in the industry. The bad part about it is that you get involved with so many different, and you're wanting to have time with each and every person, and you, at times you're feeling, again, we're getting back to where you feel like you're spreading yourself too thin, that you're not able to give each person.
Bad after Mobile Beat. I had a lot of people who messaged me and said, "Oh yeah, I saw you at Mobile Beat. You were so busy. I didn't want to bother you. So I did some business with one of your coworkers." And I'm like, "Great. Well, we appreciate your business, but I sure wish I would have got a chance to say hi."
Yeah.
Because again, for me, it's on one hand, as a business person, you're like, "Well, good. We got the sale." But on the other hand, you're like, "Man, I really wish I had a chance to say hi to you."
Yeah. And that's a high percentage of why that was the biggest draw for me this year. It hurt not going to Mobile Beat, but it wasn't because of missing whatever. It was just not seeing friends.
I wonder what it would be like to do a trade show and not exhibit. I feel like I'd have a lot more time to just hang out with people, and maybe I would enjoy that more. I don't know if that would be a judicious use of my time for the company. I guess again, there's that question of balance. But it's interesting. I'm thinking of taking my youngest daughter on a trip. That's one, thing you remind the kids. You're like, look, yes, I fly all the time, but guess what? That means I get frequent flyer miles, so I can take you places. It's for little bribes. And so I'm thinking about taking my youngest daughter on a trip, and I actually found myself kind of looking to see who I knew in that area, and think, gosh, maybe I should get together with so and so and such. While I'm there, and at the same time, to be careful not to rob that time from my youngest daughter, really to sort of, I think, bring my extended family together,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was something back in the early 2000s when we were preparing for that show we did in Dallas. I was able to take my two oldest individually, but they flew down to Dallas with me as we did some of the site inspections and things, and it was such a great time because we had that time alone, getting to the airport, in the airport, and flying, and then there was Dad had to work for a couple of hours here and there, but just that experience that we had, that one-on-one, dad and son time that I treasured. I'm at the time they remembered it and they talked about it for days and weeks and such afterwards, but they were young enough, third and fourth grade at the time that they went, that today they don't remember a thing. Vaguely remember being in Dallas with Dad, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, there's, my son has a better memory than me, I think. He reminds me, "Hey, Dad, remember that we did that thing?" And, that's really good to hear. I don't know when the opportune time is, but I pulled some pictures together that I thought were
Yeah, you've been talking about them. We need to go through and kind of check those out. And for those of you who now, this is the home slide or home movie section of the show. So if you want to tune out, you're a bad person, and we will make you feel guilty because we're going to like channel some of our mother and make you feel really bad.
Well, I think, again, it's sort of like, you would say it's kind of dangerous to share pictures of your kids on national, on the internet, but. And it probably is. It probably is a bad idea. Maybe it makes me a bad father. But I think at the same time, first of all, my kids have no illusions of privacy at this point, nor do my wife and I. But, but I think, too, it's wanting to share, again, with your extended family and saying, this is an extension of me. And again, the friends that so many of my friends know my kids anyway. So let me just see if I can do this here. You know what? Actually, I'm going to. Just got to fix this real quick.
Let's see if I can.
Can't quite get rid of the. There we go.
This is part of doing live shows, gang, as we try to switch screens back and forth. Sometimes they work really well. Sometimes.
So you should have it now, John. You
okay. Yep, I do. And I'm going to switch here in just a second so that you and I are in the upper corner. There we go.
So Dad, remember when we went to Disney World and we watched the Indiana Jones show?
Yes, son. We talked about Disney. You're so again, that British reporter thing just happened to me. My son just snuck in the room. So you know what? Now you can sit there and look at pictures of you. How about that?
I like that.
This is a pretty old one, and I don't need to tell anybody that because of my son's age now, but you just look at the gear in the background, you could tell that this one's back a while. Anyway, he's helping out that day. Here's a good one. I was out on tour, and the tour I was on actually rolled into the city where my daughter goes to college, which actually is only about 200 miles from here. So I was painfully close to home before we split back down the interstate. Where, it just is what it is. But anyway, so she came on the bus and had dinner with us and the band and got to meet that family that I've been living with, and I've worked with these guys a while, but it's kind of fun to bring all that together. Mm-hmm. She'd probably kill me for showing that picture, I'm sure. So my youngest daughter helping out. This was actually in preparation for a lighting symposium. So anyway, this is a good one. I like this one. Best day ever, he says. He knew his colors, and I told him he could use the yellow ones because I wasn't using all the output buses on that board. Here's a more modern one. And it's funny, by the way, this board has half the channels that this board does, but look at the size difference.
Wow.
Yeah, the new board will do 10 times more than the old board, but anyway.
Can you tell a story about when I was younger?
Oh, we probably get to tell a few stories. So, this was just a, kind of a, not a work related thing, but just a fun day, just sort of taking my daughter and some of her friends and, just go do something, again, balancing time. This was a road trip. My son and I went on, he, had during the summer. And, so he was off from school and we did about 2,500 miles in 5 days, and met with about 40 or 45 customers, I think. Many stadiums, arenas, it's sort of, and so anyway, the trip started with a 12-pack. By the way, that's a really bad idea. I'm just going to tell you, I didn't think that through.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah. He says memories. Yeah. It's anyway, something else he gets to do in his summers, helping at the warehouse. This is scrap wire from our install division. And we're taking it to the recycling facility here. So it's good for him. Doing a little work in the, thank you, son, doing a little work in the shop here, getting some stuff ready. I don't know if he was teaching or learning here. I suspect learning, but anyway, my friend Dennis in his studio there. I do a lot of work with football teams, and that means I have to be there 6-7 hours prior to kickoff. And this school in particular has been very gracious, and they've allowed me to bring my son several times he's just sort of grown up around this program, and, I thought, what a great experience. I think at the time, I don't know if he really appreciated this much, it's probably better than doing nothing. But I hope he looks back on this someday and says, wow, that was actually a pretty neat experience, and here's a little bit more recent picture, that's an opportunity I think a lot of kids would just really kill for. And I'm afraid it actually bores him a little bit to tears, but, it's those opportunities to try to bring him into the fold a little bit. And this is my youngest daughter. I was at a show and they came by to visit basically a couple hours before showtime just to, spend a little time. So, so let's see if I can, there we go.
Let me switch screens back. Where did our little commentary, your commentary?
Oh, he's here. He's yeah. You can see the hand in the background there. Yeah. No. All right. No, you can. All right, you can get on screen for a second.
Yeah.
World. So, you know what? It's only because he's wearing a Darth Vader shirt. So
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
As you can see, he's gotten much bigger too.
He has grown a lot.
So, all right, Jordan, say hi to all of our friends out there.
Hi.
Tell them thank you for dinner. Thank you for putting a roof over our heads.
Thank you for everything.
Yes, we appreciate it very much. So, all right, you better get ready to do some homework and go to bed and brush your teeth and all that parenting stuff, right? So we'll wrap up here. Well, good for you. Good job. All right. Well.
All
right, I'll beat it. Get out of here.
How old is he now?
Old enough to know better.
He's got to be.
He's pre-teen. He's approaching his teens.
Okay, I thought he's about 7th, 8th grade. Yeah, getting into that, in there. He's getting to be a big guy. So yeah, that's kind of what we wanted to talk about a little bit. Is give you guys a little behind the scenes, a little bit, because sometimes you see us at shows, you see us in the hallway, you see the shows and such. When we're on our Tuesday show, but there's the other side of what we do, and sometimes, as Ben made mention earlier, we've had a bad experience, something's gone, and sometimes we might be a little bit edgy, or we might be short, or we might be abrupt. It's not that we intend to be that way, but there's a lot of things going on, as there is in all of our lives, and sometimes if you get to know the other side a little bit, it makes it a lot easier for all of us to kind of understand what's going on and to work together in a little more smooth fashion.
Yeah, and I try to remind myself of that with the customers too, that if they're a little short with me, I try to put myself in their shoes too. It's a two-way street. The other night I was out playing catch with my son, and I literally, I'm throwing the ball and putting my phone in the baseball glove when I throw the ball, and then pull the phone back out and reply to a message and stick it back in the glove, and trying to help a customer out, and again try to find balance. I'm kind of curious, John. We've got the live chat.
Yeah.
If anybody, because it was just the other day somebody said, Ben, you should put together a seminar on this, and I've still haven't really given that much thought, but they said nobody that we know flies more or works harder than you, yet you seem to have a really good family life too. And I guess I don't know. I mean, the jury's still out on that, but I feel like it's good. I think there's a lot of love in the Stowe household, and I think we all try to find ways to make the most of what we have. I think when you're home, you got to be present. You can go home and still be, elsewhere, in a phone or whatever. And so I try to make sure I'm present when I'm around. But I'm curious if anybody has questions, that they have, we've got the comments for. So if people have questions or thoughts they'd like me to comment on, I'd be happy to do it.
Yeah, no, so far we've just been, folks kind of following along and just appreciating the look behind the curtain, we'll call it. And so.
Well, here's a good look behind the curtain.
That's never a good way to start a statement. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Big Daddy Mckee, I love that guy. I do. Everybody I know loves that guy. And if you don't know him, if you meet him, you'll know why. We all love him. But Sean, Big Daddy, said when I was walking in at Mobile Beat, he says, "Oh, here comes the smartest guy in the room," and I kind of look behind me. I'm like, "Where?" And one of the other guys that was around said, "Yeah, how does it feel? How does it feel to walk into a place like Mobile Beat and everybody thinks you're the smartest guy in the room?" And I said, "I'm not going to lie. It feels really good." I said, but not for the obvious reason. I said, it feels really good because when I get home, I got a wife and 2 daughters to remind me that I don't know jack. So, like, you're like, "Oh yeah, you're a superstar in your industry. That's nice, honey. Take the garbage out."
Yeah. Are the dishes done yet?
Exactly. Good for you. Do the laundry.
Get on that.
So I don't know, man. It just, it sounds cliche, but I'm a pretty average dude, honestly. So
just checking. William mentioned, that some DJs just don't have a lot of happy times. They're going through hard times and such, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to start out kind of a little bit giving the early years with Ben, because it's one of those things that Ben had his really difficult time in his teens, and from my back,
I've had a few throughout the last 24 years. It's a rewarding career, but it is not without challenge. The world has changed a great deal. There's been recessions. I've had to deal with the challenges of a growing business. You learn that some people's moral compass doesn't point the way yours does. Some people are not people of integrity, and there's consequences. I mean, I think if you would go back and ask 17-year-old Ben if he would have weekly conversations with a lawyer, he'd probably laugh at you. But that is the reality of running a company our size. And usually it's not litigious things. It's just contract law and that sort of thing. Yeah. But just navigating a world, swimming with sharks, as they say. So, again, I just try not to let those things steal my joy. I focus on all the wonderful friends that I have and the love that I have for the industry and the technology, and the rest is just details. I think anywhere you go, any job you do, there's going to be those things. So there are hard times, William, and I'm sure that I'm not through all of mine. I think it would be completely delusional of me to say that the next 30 years are just going to be smooth sailing. That I won't face any major challenges. My gosh, 10 years ago, the iPhone was invented. And, while it's a very useful tool I like, it's just a good example of how disruptive, technologies can be. The largest transportation provider in the country doesn't own a single car. 10 years ago, tell the taxi cab drivers about Uber, So I don't have any illusions that the next 30 years are going to be easy. I just think they'll be worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
They'll be worth it because of the people. They'll be worth it because of the viewers. They'll be worth it because of my friends.
Mm-hmm. And I think another aspect that we kind of alluded to a little earlier, and I guess I want to make it is one of the parts of your having that positive outlook is surrounding yourself and such with people who are also of a positive ilk, compared to having those Debbie Downers in your world who are bringing you down.
I try to lift those people up if I can. And otherwise, like I said, I think about all those wonderful positive experiences that I've had and the many, many friends I've made in the industry. Anything you do in life, there's bound to be challenges or obstacles. But here's the deal. You're not going to get out of this alive. It's true.
There's our good motivation. You're going to die.
Well, what do you got to lose? Honestly, what do you got to lose? You're not getting out of it alive. So that's kind of the approach I take is just, sort of apply myself full tilt. I love the coworkers I come to work with, the character of the people that I get to work with at NLFX. They're just top-notch people. And I think they all very much care too. I mean, we just don't see anybody there that doesn't really care about the customer.
Right.
I believe me, I see these people when they're not on the phone with you, I'd know if they didn't, and they'd know if I knew, we just don't see it. They really do care. In fact, we have in our break room right over the coffee pot, which is, a staple food group in our industry. We have a bulletin board where comments and things that people say about us on social media get put up there. And not just the good ones. All that's overwhelmingly good, you got to take it all, So like Randy Bartlett said, if you're going to listen to people when they say you're awesome, you got to listen to people when they say you suck.
Yeah.
You can't just pick and choose. And so, we know that what we do matters to people, and we try to do what we do in that mindset.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other comments? I see you reading.
Yeah, I'm checking different comments in different areas here. Ben, will you share your early struggles as I did with my son when your kids are older? Oh, yeah. So, do your kids know about your early struggles?
Oh yeah, they do. They, like I said, I hope that my kids never have to walk that road. But at the same time, it has made me who I am, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. The shelter that I lived in is celebrating their 40th anniversary as a shelter, and I just shot some footage for a documentary, and I refer to myself as an alumni of the shelter. And I think a lot of people would maybe try to hide that part of their past. And I think that's a disservice to your past, and that's a disservice to your present, and a disservice to the people who fed you and housed you, whatever your challenges were. But absolutely, my kids know, no doubt. And again, hard work. You saw my son pulling that cable out for recycling. This summer, I'm going to be working at a 3-day music festival. We're providing the sound and lighting for both stages. And I'm bringing my son along. And believe me, if he thinks he's worked, he's never worked as a stagehand at a festival. Those are long, hard days. So I hope that they will learn the value of hard work and the value of humility and integrity and gratitude and kindness.
Dana wanted me to pass along how much that everyone appreciates all of the things you do for the industry. So,
well, and I really mean it. That means a lot, and I appreciate it, and it makes it worth doing. So, thank you, Dana. I appreciate that.
Cool, gang. We're gonna wrap things up because we've got Brian coming on in a few minutes. Ben, thank you much for just sharing tonight. A lot of good behind the scenes, behind the life behind the man tonight. That was good stuff.
Well, I think what you find is that despite the Darth Vader memes and all that, my blood is very much red, and there's really nothing that unique about me. As compared to everybody else. And that's, I think, the commonality of our humanity is what makes all this so worthwhile, that we really are, in it together. William mentioned a minute ago the struggles, and just before I went on air, somebody saw this and messaged me privately and was talking about the challenges of the late nights and the diet and that sort of thing as a DJ. And, and I said, yeah, but we're all getting through it together. I mean, at least we have each other,
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds pretty cliche, but I think it's true,
Good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in about 10 minutes. If you go into the description below this YouTube video, you will find show number 2 with Brian S. Red. We'll be back and chatting about matching up your system. And I'm not going to say beyond that because we've got a lot of different angles we're going to be doing with that tonight. So
don't miss it.
Yeah, it should be fun because Brian's got some new toys he's been playing with. So, Ben, thank you much, and we'll be back again next week, same time, same bat channel, for Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Good night, everyone.